adventure, sports, outdoors. With host Harry Canterbury.
There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before. Yeah.
Hi, Harry Canterbury for another edition of Adventure Sports Outdoors. We're at the Jake Wolf Memorial Fish Hatchery in Manito, Illinois. And if you ever caught a bluegill, a crappie, or a bass, there's a good chance it started its life right here at this fish hatchery. A lot of neat things to see in here, some things that I wasn't aware of, and I think you'll be very surprised to see how the lives of these fish start right here at the hatchery. So join us today for a great show.
Adventure Sports Outdoors, brought to you in part by Corsaw Lumber, manufacturers of quality hardwood products and buyers of standing timber in Smithfield. Rawlings Trailer Sales, supplying sportsmen with all their trailer needs just south of Hopedale. Remax, specializing in commercial and recreational property in Peoria. Michael O'Brien, President. Kaler's Irish Pub and Eatery, located on Peoria's riverfront, open 11 a.m. daily. Alwyn & Sons Meat Company since 1957, located in Peoria Heights, Illinois. Our thanks to these sponsors.
Hi, this is Harry Canterbury. We're at a very special place. This is the Jake Wolf Memorial Fish Hatchery near Manito, Illinois. I'm here with the manager, Steve Kruger, and Steve's been here a little over 25 years. And it's quite a place. And when was this place established?
Construction was started in 1979, and it was completed in basically the fall 82, 83, and we've been producing fish ever since.
And you take care of stocking fish from one end of the state to the other. So you've got quite a variety. What are the varieties of fish you have here?
And typically on an annual basis we produce 14 to 15 different species, and basically we kind of categorize them. Cold water fish would be rainbow trout, brown trout, and steelhead trout, coho salmon and Chinook salmon, and then the cool water species would be muskie, northern pike, walleye, striped bass hybrids occasionally, and then the warm water fish would be largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, bluegill, red ear, channel catfish, and an occasional crappie.
So you cover virtually almost every...
We touch on a lot of different species here.
Sport fish that's located in Illinois.
Correct.
Now catfish is also a stocked fish here?
Correct. It's called, there's non-vulnerable catfish. They're actually produced down at Little Grassy Fish Hatchery. There are 3 hatcheries in Illinois, and we all work in conjunction with one another in order to stock the entire state with fish. Little Grassy actually produces most of the non-vulnerable, which are 8-inch fish. We bring them up here, and then we help them stock them from the central to the northern part of the state. We also produce all of the little 3-inch channel catfish that are stocked in the private waters across the state.
Now, what are the other 2 hatcheries?
One is Little Grassy Fish Hatchery, and it is in southern Illinois. It's located just south of Carbondale, and it was built in about the mid-50s, I believe. And then the other one is LaSalle Fish Hatchery, and it's in LaSalle County, so it's north of here. And I think it was obtained from the LaSalle nuclear power plant in the early 90s.
So the one in southern Illinois is the oldest, and then
correct.
Jake Wolf, and then the one up north.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see a lot of things that I think are going to be very interesting to you. I know it is to me. And you're going to see things that are going to be a wonderment right here at the Jake Wolf Memorial Fish Hatchery in Manito, Illinois. Steve, where are we going to go now?
We're going to go down to basically incubation, and you can see where we have some muskie fry that are about 7 days old on feed.
Is that right? Well, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Tell them about your muskie here.
I got my first muskie.
Oh, really?
About a year ago, and it was 42 inches, and I got out of Lake Kincaid.
We've been stocking Kincaid for a number of years now.
I was more than thrilled. I thought a lot more than I never caught a muskie, and I was fishing down in the cold Simmons, but he died down there.
another round.
Oop, let me get out of your way.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald on Spring Lake in Tazewell County, north of Havana, where an annual activity is going on here, and you don't get to see this very often. What we're doing here, Wayne Herndon, our fisheries biologist from Illinois Department of Natural Resources, has brought us out here to show us how they capture muskie annually, take the eggs and the milt from them in order to spawn the muskies for the fisheries statewide here. Well, Wayne, we've run a couple of nets. We're on the third one now. It looks like we're gonna have some luck on this one, huh?
I think so. Yeah. This is set over a spring, and the females will tend to move into the spring to hold until the water temperature of the lake is right. Mm-hmm. So
it looks like we're pulling something in there now. If we can get a little closer, maybe we can see what we got there. Look at the mouth. Look at the mouth on her. Now that's a female. Does that look like a female there?
Yes,
maybe?
that does.
So what's happening right now is David Parrish has a male male muskie in his hands, and he's kind of gently squeezing on the bottom of the fish, the ventral part of the fish. And then Mark Sardi has got an aspirator, and he's actually kind of suctioning that milk, the semen, into a test tube.
Wow, boy, now what are we seeing come out there?
Okay,
first?
they just have the vent on the female, and Dave's just gently pushing on her abdomen, and he's collecting. Brenda's holding the bowl, and we're collecting eggs.
And those are eggs that are coming out there, huh?
Exactly.
And they have a very yellow color to them.
Most of the time, they're quite yellow. 3 vials of the milk that we just took a few moments ago. It's been on ice, so they're going to go ahead and add it neat. So right now, there's no water on the eggs. There's no water on the milk. They add the milk, stir it up a little bit. Rod just rinsed out the vials. Brenda's doing the same. Okay, now they're ready to add water to this. As soon as the water hits that semen, all those millions of semen cells in there, they start swimming like crazy, trying to find an egg to fertilize. Then they're just very gently kind of stirring that up. We want to get that semen mixed up very well with all those eggs so that we have good contact between the milk and the egg. You could actually add a touch more water to that if you would.
A little more water, okay. And Steve, we left the spawning room and we came over to the incubation room.
Yes, sir.
And the eggs we're looking at here are very recent, aren't they?
Most of these were taken either the day before yesterday or yesterday. These were taken yesterday. And what you're looking at is every female is kept individually in a hatching jar. So after those eggs that we just spawned, after they water harden, which takes about an hour, then we bring them into incubation. We would measure them in a graduated cylinder so that we know, like in this case, there was 800 mils of eggs taken from that female. Then we go ahead and put them in the incubation jar, and they're going to stay. This is 54-degree water. This is our well water. And they're going to stay in this jar for approximately 10, as many as 11 days, and then they'll go ahead and hatch. And when they hatch, then we'll go ahead and take those fried, and we'll move them to another room, put them in a basket so that we can keep track of exactly what happens with the spawn from that female.
A lot of different stages in order to get these fish into the water, and where are we at right now, Steve?
These are some circular tanks that we have muskie fry in, and these fish have actually been on feed for a week yesterday. There's about 13 to 14,000 fish in each of these 2 circular tanks. And these muskie will stay in these tanks for about 2 weeks, and then once they get a little bit larger, we'll move them into, they're called star tanks. I'll show you those in a few minutes.
Now, a question I have, what's your survival rate with all these fish in there? Are they all going to live, or?
No, not all of them. I wish they would all live. It would make life a lot easier for us and for the muskie, actually. But we should get somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 80% survival from this stage to when we move them to the next stage. And that's really good, considering that these fish were only about a ½ an inch when we started them on feed. Brenda's taking care to clean the tank right now, and every morning then the guys come in, and then actually with these fish, they siphon the tank and get all the debris, all the uneaten feed and feces off the bottom of the tank. Then they gently pull it down to clean the water in the tank. And then you can see right here, this is a feeder. And what we're doing with this feeder is it goes off. In this case, it's every 2 minutes, 24 hours a day. We don't shut the lights off.
Every 2 minutes?
Every 2 minutes.
24 hours
and
a day.
I can fire it off right now, and you'll notice just very slight feed amount that falls into the water when that happens. Make it work now for us. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
just like a little dusting.
It's just a little dusting. We just want to be presenting feed to these fish all the time. Muskie aren't very efficient in how well they feed when they're young, and a lot of what they try to hit, they miss. So we want to make sure that we're presenting a lot of food to them all the time so that there's always something for them to try to feed on. If they don't find something to feed on, then they start feeding on themselves or each other.
Well, some of these exact fish right here will be on the end of somebody's hook in what period of time?
Yeah, we'll stock these in August at about 10 to 12 inches, and then depending upon the lake, you know, and what the regs are, hopefully 4 years.
4 years, there might be a trophy in here.
I hope so.
And how old are these again?
These have been on feed for 8 days.
8 days. So prior to that, they just hatched.
Actually, we actually spawned these fish on the 15th of March, and then they incubate for about 2 weeks in jars. And then after 2 weeks, we move them from jars to a basket, and then all fish have a yolk sac when they first hatch. And they just use that yolk sac as an energy source. They stay in that basket for about 2 weeks. And then at that point, once they've absorbed that yolk sac and they're ready to feed on, you know, whatever Mother Nature provides, or in this case, what we provide, then we put them in this tank.
Now, one last question. Are these a hybrid or are these?
These are pure muskie.
These are pure muskie.
Yeah, we used to raise the tiger muskie. Now all we do is produce pure muskie and pure northern pike. And we have some northern pike we can show you in the start tank room in just a moment.
Okay.
Harry, this is the start tank room. It's got basically 56 of these concrete tanks. They're about 18 feet long, about 2.5 feet wide, and they're typically in that 2 feet depth-wise. Really, we start using these about December when we move all of our cold water fish, the rainbows, the browns, the snook, and the kelp from incubation in here. So come Christmas time, we're going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 million fry in here on feed. Most of those fish have been moved outside right now. What we have in here currently is some brown trout still, and we have about 100,000 northern pike and some feeders that those guys are working on. I can show you those in a second.
These are northern pike, you say?
Correct. These guys are only about 2-3 weeks older than those muskie that you saw in that circular tank.
They grow that fast?
It's amazing. It's close to the same species as it is. Granted, they're different species. These fish are just so much more aggressive. They're actually so much more accurate at hitting the pellet as they grow, so they grow so much faster.
So those little fish that we saw in the other room are really close to the same age as these.
Yep, they're not. They're probably 2.5, 3 weeks max difference between those little muskie you saw and these larger northern pike right here.
How long will it take those muskie to get to this size?
Oh, they'll probably be there in about a month.
It'll take a month.
Yep.
Boy, there's a big difference between a northern and a muskie.
Considerably different. Actually, it's probably more like 5 weeks.
Now, where is one of the major stocking areas for these fish?
A lot of the northern pike, well, we stock the Illinois River. We stock Spring Lake South because that's where we go to get the brood fish to bring back to the hatchery in order to spawn to make these fish. And a lot of the stockings are in the Chicago, or in northern Illinois, the Chicago metro area, Sanganasky Slough, Tampere,
Kankakee area?
Not the Kankakee River proper, Wolf Lake. There's a number of them. There's probably about 20 different sites in the kind of the metro area, northern Illinois, some around Rockford, some in the Chicago area.
Yeah. Huge lake out there. You told us a little bit about what you do. You pump water at one end at 54 degrees.
Exactly.
And then during July and August, it heats up, considerably.
Sure.
You can take it out at the lower end and use it specific for different applications. So the lake itself, is there anything else you know about the lake?
Really, it's a 22-acre called solar pond. And really the point behind it is to warm up that well water at 54 up to the ambient temperature outside in the summer. And then we can use that warm water with the cold water to manipulate the temperature for those 15 different species that we raise here. That allows us to make all those different fish here in one facility. That's what's unique about this place.
Illinois being one of the agricultural places of the world, there's a lot of fertilizer put on the ground, nitrates, all sorts of other things. Of course, those go into the water supply.
Right.
You test your water regularly.
Yep.
Have you ever noticed a substantial amount of nitrates in the water?
No, we test the same water basically that goes over the fish is the same water that we drink here. We do chlorinating per Department of Health regs, but it's the same water we drink. And we actually test it a couple times a year for nitrates and coliform bacteria. We're not having a problem with either of those. So the water quality that we sit on is excellent. That comes out of the Muhammad Aquifer. It's wonderful water.
Conservation has a fleet of specially equipped trucks that travel the state, stocking the fish into Illinois waters. The fish are taken from the raceways, carefully counted and weighed, and loaded into the climate-controlled trucks. These special trucks are designed to provide the best aquatic environment possible for the fish. The water is oxygen-rich, and the fish can be transported in this environment for up to 24 hours with no ill effects.
Ready? Say, a bunch of fish in here. These are a lot different than what we looked at over here. What do we got in here?
Actually, this is the last species of cold water fish that we still have inside. Most of them have gotten big enough that we needed to move them outside into raceways because there was too many fish in the start tank. These are brown trout in these 8 tanks. There's about 100,000 here. And David Wilcoxon is just like David Parrish. He's cleaning the tank and maintain the water quality in the environment so the fish stay as healthy as possible.
How old are these fish?
These fish were spawned in October. Basically, we incubated them and we put them on feed just before Christmas. These are a little slower growing, the browns are, than the rainbows, the shrimp, and the coho that are outside. Those fish are in that 5 to 5.5 inch range, and these are about 4 inch.
Now, where did you get the brood fish to get these?
We actually get these fish in the mail from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. These fish actually come from Hatchery in Wyoming. They ship them in the styrofoam box. Eggs are eyed up already, so they're developing. And then once we get them in, we disinfect the surface of them so we don't bring any virus into the hatchery, and then we incubate them for another 3 weeks or so. They hatch, and then we bring them out here.
Where are these fish going to end up?
These will all go to Lake Michigan in probably mid to late July.
These will all go to Lake Michigan?
Yep.
Great. Steve, this is quite a huge fish here. We're older and older. Look, they're pretty big. What are they?
These are rainbow trout. A couple weeks ago, we harvested our brood bass pond, so we're getting ready to start spawning largemouth and smallmouth in a couple of weeks. So we have our kind of resident largemouth bass and smallmouth bass out in ponds year round. We harvested those ponds, and in those ponds, we have these rainbow trout. And the reason we have rainbow trout with our bass is if we ever have any extra fish after we get done stocking Lake Michigan, we use those as forage for the bass. These guys hung around in the ponds for a couple of years. This is what they turned into. They turned into some really quality rainbow trout. What we plan on doing with these fish is we're going to be going down to Little Grass to pick up a truck and borrow it when we start stocking all our salmonids. We're going to take these and they'll be stocked in Devil's Kitchen Lake.
These will go in Devil's Kitchen Lake.
It's a very deep lake, and they'll survive through the summer even if it gets very warm.
And then, of course, will they propagate in that lake?
No, they won't spawn in the lake. Hopefully, some 12-year-old kid is going to catch one of these this spring or next fall and just have a blast when they do. Because it'll be a real threat to colonies on mine.
How old are these? Did you say
these are probably about 2 years old. You know, they just been sitting around eating minnows, so they're happy.
They're happy fish.
Yeah, they're happy till they're caught.
Are those the feeders on the end of those?
Exactly. And they blow feed just like in here, it's automated. These feeders blow feed down that aluminum tube, and each one of these ports opens up and it blows feed into a particular area in the raceway.
Now what is the specific the usage of the raceway?
Well, it's just like those tanks, only bigger. So when the fish get too big in there, and there's too many in the tank, they're too crowded, and we can't keep enough water running across them, the environment is getting poor, then we move them out here, and it's just, well, that's 1,100 gallons, that's 12,000 gallons.
So when they get out here, it gives them more room, they'll grow faster, and it takes the stress off.
Yeah, exactly.
The stress is not good on
Yeah,
this fish.
exactly. We're trying to maintain as good an environment as we can. And because we have all these animals, whether it's fish, chickens, hogs, cattle, we put a bunch of animals together and you're asking for a problem. So, there's really two ways to produce fish. There's an intensive way, which you're seeing here, and then there's an extensive way where you take fry or fingerlings, you put them out in the pond, you let Mother Nature feed them, through plankton, zooplankton, and then you harvest that pond, and then we bring them back in, and then we put them on feed. So we do, a variety of different ways in order to culture fish here. And
So
it's quite cool.
usually this is the last place here until they're taken out and stocked.
For the cold water fish it is. You know, when they come out here, it's here, and then next week, actually, the 1st of May, 2nd of May, we will start moving the coho, the chinook, and the rainbow trout up to Lake Michigan.
And to transport them, you use a aerated truck?
Right, oxygenated. We have 3 large transports that hold, 2 hold 1,200 gallons, 1 holds about 2,000. And on the back of these are oxygen bottles, so that we meter in oxygen into the water so that we can haul them for 6 hours without loss of fish. And we take them up there and shoot them into the different harbors.
No, you just open up the thing?
It's got like a 6-inch cam lock fitting, and we put a hose on it.
And they just come out the hose and right in the water?
Yep.
Makes
Like there's a whistle.
And of course, you know, the new popularity of the Asian carp. Where do you spawn and raise Asian carp?
There's a great rearing pond. It's called the Illinois River. It's about a mile from here. Have at it. Take all you want. There is no limit.
Hey, Bailey. Hi, Bud.
Hey,
How are you?
Good one.
That's Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey.
Bailey's about 15 years old.
Yeah.
This is the birds away.
Yeah. A lot of birds around here, and I know why, because there's a lot of food. Are they a problem, Steve?
Yeah, unfortunately they are. And we've got the trout and the salmon out in the raceways right now. And they're confined, and there's a lot of them out there. Like I said, there's a few 100,000 fish out there. The birds, they're quite smart, and they've learned they've got a smorgasbord to dine on here. So, we have, as the egrets migrate through, they kind of use this as a waypoint. They stop here, they eat fish, and then they move on. So we have bird predation problems with the egrets, as you see, actually gulls, and then the herons, and it's something that we deal with. We go outside with a few more fish, knowing that we're going to take a loss because of the bird predation problems.
Do you ever use a shotgun or a noisemaker to scare them off?
We have bird bangers. We don't have a depredation permit, so we can't kill the birds. We do have bangers that we go out. Unfortunately, the birds are pretty smart. They go out, we shoot the thing off. They, roll their shoulders, so to speak, and they don't really care.
That looks like a hawk sitting down here. On the end, see
it's actually, I think it's an old turkey decoy. We've tried everything over the years to keep the birds. Bailey at one time, that was his job, to go out there and chase the birds away. Then he got a little bit older and stove up. So now we just go out there and do the best we can.
It moved.
It moved? Let me see with my...
It is. It almost looks like a kingfisher, but I'm not.
Oh, right. Oh, you know what it is? It's a heron.
It's a heron.
It's a heron.
Is it a heron?
It's just on that feeder port.
It sure is.
Yeah.
It's moved its head to the left.
Yeah, it's a heron. It's a great blue.
Yeah, it is.
I'm here with Wayne Herndon, and Wayne has been with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources since Moses was a lieutenant or corporal. How long you been with him?
I've been doing this job 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years. And I have to say I've known Wayne for a long time, and one of the most respected, most passionate, enthusiastic biologists that the state of Illinois has working for him. Tell everybody what your job consists of in the Fisheries Department.
I have a geographic area I cover, and I work on ponds, lakes, streams, and water areas in general for that geographic area. And then we get together as a group and work on the larger bodies of water, kind of gang up on those.
And I've been with you. You go out and catch muskies to retrieve the eggs and other things too, right?
Right. We work hand in hand with the hatchery here, getting brood fish.
We had a great tour here at the fish hatchery, and we saw a lot of things. We saw virtually from A, well, we didn't see A, we saw C on down to Z. You're AB. So tell us what A is all about. You guys go out, get these fish, milk the fish, get the eggs, and bring them here to this hatchery. And how long have you been doing that, Wayne?
As far as muskie particularly goes, this is about 20 years now.
20 years. Before, in Illinois, a muskie was something you went to Wisconsin or Minnesota to get, but now muskies are as common here. In fact, I hear there's places in Illinois that are more productive fishing-wise than in Wisconsin.
That's correct. We've kind of extended their range a little bit over where it used to be, and by stocking each year, we can maintain pretty good trophy fisheries.
What does it take for a muskie to propagate, to live in a lake in Illinois? Does it have to be deep? Does it have to be cold? What are some of the prerequisites for good habitat for muskie?
We try to match within reasonable limits, what they would encounter in the wild up in the northern states. But they're still not going to reproduce in our lakes. We have to maintain the stocks we have in our lakes through artificial stocking.
So every lake in Illinois that has muskies periodically it has to be stocked.
Periodically, that's true. We used to have some native populations up in the glacial lakes up by Wisconsin, but those conditions that allow those fish to naturally reproduce, we can't emulate anywhere else in the state.
Yeah. You've been with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. When you started, it was the Department of Conservation. For how long, Wayne?
40 years.
40 years. Yeah. Almost as old as I am. I wish I was 40 years old. That's a long time. Yeah. It's a long time. And I'll bet it's been a really interesting and gratifying career, hasn't it?
It really has. This career has allowed me to do things that I've just dreamed about previous to having this job. But and it's been a growing experience through time. The job has changed greatly.
Are you ever going to retire?
I will.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, and I mean this sincerely, Wayne's been with the department, like you said, some 40 years, and is one of the most passionate and enthusiastic biologists in the state of Illinois. And I don't want to make his head swell, but Illinois is very fortunate to have guys like Wayne and Rob Hilzeback and a number of other fellows that are very excited about what they do, and you've done a fantastic job. And if you're catching fish in Illinois and enjoying the sports, you can thank Wayne, because he's one of the guys that makes it possible for good fishing here in the great state of Illinois.
This is a great example. It's kind of a version of a rowboat. It's called the Warren Skiff, and it was made by a boat builder by the name of Clint Warren, probably in the early 1900s. He only made about 900 or about 100 of them from 1910 to 1940. You see that it's got a relatively flat bottom. It's really meant for two people that could row it. It was great. It was very stable. They could use it over the ice. They could hunt out of it. This boat was actually being used until 1999, when it was donated by the Kleindens family from Havana to the Dixon Mounds Museum. It's just it's a really cool, one-of-a-kind boat that we're lucky to have in the museum here.
Hi, I'm Dave Barth with your shooting tip of the week. There are many target rifles out there. Today we're going to talk about the ultimate target rifle. This is a Barrett Model 99. It's a 50 BMG. It fires a 750 grain bullet at 2,800 feet per second. Its effective range is 1 mile. The competition is so strong in the U.S., there's over 2,000 registered shooters in the 50 BMG class. These rifles are used by the military as sniper rifles and by civilians for target rifles. I'm Dave Barth with your shooting tip of the week. Only in America.
Adventure Sports Outdoors, brought to you in part by Corsaw Lumber, manufacturers of quality hardwood products and buyers of standing timber in Smithfield. Rawlings Trailer Sales, supplying sportsmen with all their trailer needs just south of Hopedale. Remax, specializing in commercial and recreational property in Peoria. Michael O'Brien, President. Kaler's Irish Pub and Eatery, located on Peoria's riverfront, open 11 a.m. daily. Alwyn & Sons Meat Company since 1957, located in Peoria Heights, Illinois. Our thanks to these sponsors.